It's January, and the Chargers have found themselves in a position that they haven't been in since 2018, the playoffs. They won in the wild card 4 years ago before getting blown out by New England next week. Derwin James, Joey Bosa, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, etc. were part of that 2018 Chargers team who will be playing on wild card weekend in 2023. That team was really good. I mean, they got their ass kicked in the divisional round, but they had a loaded roster. The biggest difference at this point in time compared to then is Justin Herbert. For some reason, as frustrating and confusing Joe Lombardi can make me when calling plays, I can't quite quit this team. For all of the struggles they've had on offense lately, I look at the Chargers and think this is still a team that can take Kansas City down to the wire in Kansas City without some of their top players. And they did it this year, and they did it last year. And if you remember last year, week 3, 2021, the Chargers beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead, and that roster was not as complete as the one that they have now, and they still won. They're capable of playing with the best of the best. And I found myself at certain times this season saying, it's just the same old Chargers, no matter how close they may seem to correcting those 4 to 5 mental mistakes each game, or no matter how good Justin Herbert is, they'll always come up short when it matters most. Something though now feels different. For one, they're actually in the playoffs, but there's also something that if you look just a little harder, maybe if you squint your eyes a little bit, something that can't fully be measured by stats. There's a few things. The first, and quite honestly the most important, is the way their defense is playing. It's the defense that's been without Joey Bosa. It's the defense that's been without their top free agent signee in J.C. Jackson, Derwin James on and off the field, constant injuries on the defensive line, but they just keep treading water. I watched their performance against Miami on Sunday night a few weeks ago, and they played lights the fuck out without some of their top players in that secondary, and it was straight man coverage. I mean, they straight up said, we're not afraid of your RPOs, we're not afraid of Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. They took a few hits with that, but ultimately that mentality paid off, and it's been paying off for a while. Since week 14, the Chargers defense has allowed just 11 points per game, and by nobody's surprise, they're 4-0 since then. Their pass defense is ranked 6th in the league, allowing just 196.3 yards per game. I mean, they're no joke. The thing that they're really good at is making you earn every yard that you get. They don't give up the big play, they won't let you get behind their defense, and because how some players and coordinators can become impatient while running the offense, they run themselves into self-inflicted mistakes. The fact that they've done this without J.C. Jackson not being on the field and him being a shell of himself when he was, it's impressive. Like I mentioned, Derwin James, arguably the best safety, has missed time, and they've gotten him back recently, and you add Joey Bosa in that group now with Khalil Mack, Sebastian Joseph-Day, Morgan Fox up front. We already know what the secondary's been doing, and it's just scary to think that this team is assembling. And I can't forget about Drue Tranquill as well. He's had his best season overall, I think. This is a complete defense now. I want to say, along with the defense playing good, the offense has done just enough. And I know it's not the most explosive or anything, but I think what they're doing to make up for some of their shortcomings is actually a pretty good job by the staff. The Chargers are not a very good run team. They've gotten slightly better. In fact, last Sunday against LA, they stuck with the run game more than they have all season, and it resulted in a 31-10 victory. What they do to counter an underwhelming rushing attack is short passes designed mostly to Austin Eckler as an extension of the run game. The only problem I have with that is it doesn't necessarily keep a defense honest as much as you would like it, but the thing is, for them, it kind of works. It's not anything pretty, but it keeps Justin Herbert in rhythm, and if he's in rhythm, then so is everyone else. And that's the most important thing, because the Chargers' identity is Justin Herbert, and they don't care because they have a way of making 45 pass attempts per game work. They don't have to worry about putting so much wear and tear on his arm because they're not asking him to throw 30 yards downfield every play. And I have to say, as unconventional as it is, it's kind of fun to watch because in a way they found what works for them in midst of injuries and a below average run game. I want to show you what this team looks like at full strength, and for that we really have to go all the way back to week 1, and that's really saying a lot. These were two teams that had high expectations coming into the season, and the Chargers delivered on their end in this game. They sacked Carr 6 times and they picked him off 3 times. I want to show you an incredible play by Drue Tranquill, the middle linebacker that I mentioned before. This was the first interception by Carr, and the Chargers are in what looks to be a match quarters coverage with man on one side, and Drue Tranquill is the middle linebacker on this play, and he's going to match Darren Waller and carry him up the field, carry the route downfield, and make a wonderful play. This is something that Los Angeles has gotten out of Tranquill all season, and it's been one of their constant bright spots on defense. In this game, half of the sacks were from Khalil Mack, and it's no surprise to me that Brandon Staley went out to get him, as he was with him in Chicago when he was their linebackers coach, and he's been huge for them. And you see here, You see him get to Carr, and just look at what they have going on. I mean, they got a slot blitz with James, with Murray, the linebacker, trying to pick the guard, and it's going to get a little messed up, but it doesn't matter because Murray just ends up bull rushing his guy straight into Carr and then straight into Mack, waiting for him on the edge. This is an example of the versatility that this defense has when you have 3 edge rushers who are super productive in Bosa, Mack, and Kyle Van Noy. It gives you so many options, plus you have arguably the best blitzing safety in the game in Derwin James. You can show so many looks. You want to put Van Noy and Mack on the guards, go ahead. Mack and Bosa both on one side, yeah, you can do that. And for the first time in forever, we're finally going to see that with meaningful games on the line, and it's something that teams really haven't had film to prepare for. We have no idea the tricks that Brandon Staley has up his sleeve for these guys now all on the field together. This is against the Chiefs in Week 11, and the Chargers play the Chiefs as good as anyone in the league. They haven't gotten the best of Mahomes many times, but they have a history of making games difficult for them. The way they do that is making the Chiefs drive the length of the field and get to third down. They won't give up big plays, and with the exception of Travis Kelce, I think they've done a pretty good job at that. And I think something to notice here and in many other games against Kansas City is that even though they'll play patient, they will play man-to-man and make Mahomes be perfect. And as many times as he can be perfect, he won't always be. And a good example of that is on 3rd and 5, where they run a game up front and they play 2-man all across. So they're trying to get pressure and make him force the ball out quicker than he would want. And they have success doing that as the pass goes incomplete for Travis Kelce. He's a little inaccurate with the ball. And they do this often. They're not afraid. They do it against a lot of teams, not just Kansas City. They like playing man-to-man, and they don't necessarily have the blueprint. They don't necessarily have the blueprint to slowing them down or stopping them, but it's as if no matter what, they'll make the plays when they need to, and it just comes down to who has the ball last. Their offense also kind of plays as an extension of their defense by running out the clock. Arizona in Week 12. Now, this game against the Cardinals really shows what I mentioned about how the offense, though not particularly good at running the ball, has a way of putting the offense in manageable situations that a good run game provides. And Justin Herbert in this game went 35 for 47, which is insane efficiency, and he does that week in and week out. You know, his averages aren't always high. He had only 274 passing yards, so it's well under 10 yards per completion, but that's basically what their offense is. In a way, it is a good running team, but instead of traditional handoffs, they give Eckler and Carter and Allen a bunch of bubble screens and orbit screens and quick throws. And in this game, the Chargers only handed the ball off 7 times, just 7, but they still controlled the clock and they kept it balanced and they stayed ahead of the chains for the most part. Eckler had 11 catches for 60 yards. And that's it. That's their not so secret sauce. Just look at all the ways that they spread the ball out, short and quick. It's not exciting, but it just works. What I also think is pretty interesting, if you just look at the box score, it shows Arizona with 181 rushing yards to the Chargers 65 and 366 total yards for Arizona. And you just think, well, that's pretty lopsided. You know, Arizona must have won, but you know they didn't. Arizona played a great game on offense, and you know the Chargers, they just still found a way because Herbert is just so efficient and he keeps them in rhythm on offense. Look, we all know how good he is, how good Justin Herbert is. I'm not going to show you the obvious. The things that people don't mention is how good the defense is playing and how much potential they really have. Nobody mentions that this season alone, the Chargers have came back to win from down 10 or more points 4 times this season. Just know that a team who knows what they're good at and can keep a game close will always have a chance. You aren't going to blow this team out of the water. They're going to give it to their superstar quarterback and let him throw 44 times. And you better be ready for those 44 dropbacks because he knows exactly how to keep you on your heels. Herbert doesn't need anyone to carry him. He doesn't need 30 carries or 30 rush attempts and for 150 yards every game to keep his team in it. That's simply because he's built different. He was like that at Oregon. He was the focal point. He is the identity for this team. Kind of like Mahomes and Allen, the offense revolves around your quarterback being able to do something special. It may be a lot to ask at times, but more often than not, your guy pulls through, and it's a hell of a lot better than being in a situation where you can't live and die by the right or left arm of your quarterback because you're scared to do so. You have Travis Kelce, the Chargers have Derwin James. You have Matt Milano, they have Austin Eckler. You have Joe Burrow, they have Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. And they have Justin Herbert, who will go toe-to-toe with anyone. I don't know how far they will go. What I do know is they have as good a roster as anyone and a quarterback who can make a throw that just doesn't look possible. The ones that remind you why you love watching football. They can do it. I'm talking about the Super Bowl. They can make it. There's just no doubt in my mind. I've been waiting to see Justin Herbert on the biggest stage for 3 years now, and you better believe come wildcard weekend, I'll be taking it all in. Someone once said, It's not who makes the playoffs, but it's who makes the playoffs while playing their best. Justin Herbert might go into wildcard weekend saying this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience until he says to just give him 3 more weeks.